We're just going to try and catch up with the latest from Trump's Beijing summit. I think that's probably the top line news number or whatever to go over. So we're going to talk about, I've heard there have been some talks like this particular one it says China issues a stark new warning to Trump on Taiwan. I've heard, a bunch of like random like anecdotes about what they might be like, what kind of trade deals might come about or whatever. But honestly, I haven't heard anything that concrete. So I'm wondering, hopefully this will give us some more concrete information. And if not, at least it'll fill us in on the latest discussions. But I know in particular, the Taiwan stuff is like pretty, it has been getting a lot of people, are talking about that. So I can give you my perspective on that, because newsflash, my opinion probably differs a lot from most of mainstream media or whatever when it comes to Taiwan. But anyway, let's go ahead and watch it.
President Trump and China's President Xi are attending a state banquet in Beijing after the first day of their bilateral talks. Now, a White House official described it as a good meeting and said the two discussed Iran, trade, and energy. But beyond the pomp and circumstance, tensions are growing over Taiwan. Chinese state media reporting that Xi warned Trump that Taiwan, the democratic self-governing island that Beijing views as part of its territory, is, quote, the most important issue.
Well, and also America does as well. According to America's law, or America's understanding, is that Taiwan is a part of Chinese territory. And that's also the understanding of the international law. Anybody who claims that Taiwan isn't a part of China, like isn't a Chinese territory, is like living on a fantasy world. That's like saying Puerto Rico isn't an American territory. Like it is a Chinese territory under every aspect of, every aspect of law, international law, whatever. It is, however, a autonomous country that does, or not country, I guess, but an autonomous territory that does not, it is not controlled by the CCP. Like they have their own form of government on Taiwan. And so that's like the primary difference. But it is under like all, like according to the international law and according to America, Taiwan is a Chinese territory.
In China-U.S. relations, and could create a very dangerous situation if mishandled. Some observers viewing that as a threat. CNN's Will Ripley is live this morning in Taipei, Taiwan. It seems like this island, with China has threatened to take by force, is really emerging for China as a key issue here of the summit. Meanwhile, it's sort of the tale of two straits. Meanwhile, you've got the strait.
Has China threatened to take it by force? I don't know if I've heard that. I mean, I think they've said that they would, or that they could if they had to. But as far as I know, China is very firmly in the camp of like, we want a peaceful reunification with Taiwan. So that's not by force, though. That is like, ideally they want to just negotiate something where Taiwan becomes a part of China, or like officially a part of China, and but can have its own form of governance. This would be similar, I think, to, is it Hong Kong, I think, in China, where it's essentially a capitalist enclave inside of like a capitalist run territory inside of China. And I would guess that Taiwan would be no different if they, peacefully, if they peacefully, reunified. That's the word I was looking for.
Strait of Hormuz also lingering there, with the president wanting China to help get that open.
Yeah, it's interesting, Sarah, because the officials here in Taipei were sort of expecting this kind of language from Xi Jinping. It didn't come as a surprise that it was the first thing that Chinese state media reported, this comment basically saying that if the U.S. and China mishandled the issue of Taiwan, it could lead to a military conflict. We've heard that sort of thing from Beijing repeatedly over the years. It is noteworthy.
Yeah, don't get into another military misadventure, Mr. Trump. You saw what happened when you tried to go up against Iran, which is like 1/1000th of has 1/1000th of the capabilities that China has. Like, don't get twisted, dude. You don't want to fuck around with this shit.
But not surprising that was the first line of information that they chose to leak to the Xinhua news agency. I want to read you a little bit more of the quote that was reported by Chinese state media from Xi Jinping. He said, quote, Taiwan independence and cross-strait peace are as irreconcilable as fire and water. Safeguarding peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait is the biggest common denominator between China and the U.S. And because they were expecting that kind of language here in Taipei, there was a response very quickly from the Taiwan cabinet spokesperson, Michelle Lee. I'll read you that as well, Sarah. It said, China's military threat is the sole source of insecurity in the Taiwan Strait and the broader Indo-Pacific region. Continuous enhancement of defense and effective...
No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, look, my opinion is that the best course of action would be for Taiwan to peacefully reunify with China. I know that, like, I think polling wise, that's not the most popular position in Taiwan. I think that the majority, let me polling Taiwan peaceful reunification. Let's see if they have any images. 1 second. Here, maybe this will help. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Open image and new tab. There we go. Okay. So here's some polling. This is, I thought this was going to be annually. Never mind. Well, this is what it says. 48.9 says independence, 30, or like 26.9 status quo, and 11.8 is independence. But I wanted one over time. This is so hard to read, dude. Man, these are all in like Mandarin or whatever. Taiwanese, is that, do they have their own language? I'm not really sure. Man, I hate Google Images, dude. How do I... There we go. That's what I usually do. Oh my gosh, this is unreadable. Man, dude, why do they make this so hard? Okay, whatever. Let's just assume that this number is correct. So 48.9% support complete independence, 26.9 support the status quo, which is the current situation that they have there, and 12% support unification. So as you can see, like peaceful reunification, or I think it might depend how you phrase it to them as well, whether you say like unification through military means or through, you know, peaceful negotiations. But yeah, it's clearly the minority opinion, though. So my opinion is different than the majority of the Taiwanese. But my recommendation to Taiwan is to look, if you want to know what your future is, if you decide to be America's proxy against China, I would say look to Ukraine. That is what it's going to look like. You're going to, you know, be in a you're going to be in a state of war indefinitely, as America continuously forces you to be like in war forever, despite what your people want. Like, and you might think like at first that this is what you want, that you want to go to war for your independence or whatever. But like, I assure you, America does not give a shit about you. They don't even necessarily even give a shit about your independence. They care much more about you as a destabilizing bulwark against China. And so I don't think it's in your best interest personally to try to take sides with America. The other thing that I would point out to my Taiwanese brothers and sisters out there is that look at what happened to a lot of our allies in the Middle East in this war with Iran. Okay. Iran, like, you know, hit them really fucking hard. And America was unable to protect any of them. And And also, America wasn't even able to protect Israel, which Israel is like the one true ally of America, like the one that you like that they will spend everything that they have just to protect. They will even sacrifice their own population for the state of Israel, like America will. And they weren't even able to protect Israel. So my recommendation to you is to think long and hard before you choose to be a good little proxy for America, decimate your population, decimate your economy, just to protect yourself from big bad China. I think what's in your best interest is to do a peaceful reunification. You can still be a capitalist like territory if you want. Like I said, Hong Kong exists as a model. Like you can do that. That's my personal opinion, though. I mean, I know that might frustrate some people. That might even frustrate some Taiwanese people. But I think that's the better option for you. So anyway, let's keep going now. That was a little bit of a side mission, I guess.
Effective joint deterrence are the most critical factors to ensuring regional security. The reason why they talked about enhancement of defense is because one big concern they have here in Taipei is that behind closed doors, Xi Jinping could ask President Trump to either delay or stall or flat out deny a $14 billion arms sales package that Taiwan's parliament has approved, but it has yet to be approved by President Trump in Washington. It's still in limbo. That would be a major setback for Taiwan if President Trump didn't approve that package quickly, because it would basically indicate that he's willing to negotiate Taiwan's security in exchange for some sort of grand bargain. That was, of course,
but I think that the more important thing, though, is that America is not capable of protecting Taiwan. Like whether we sell them all of these arms or not. By the way, okay, where are we getting these arms from? Are they going to magically appear out of nowhere? Like we went through 50% of our missiles in 6 weeks of war with Iran. If we go back into any other hot war, all of our missile production capability is going to that for the foreseeable future. Just trying to build up our stockpiles again from that 6-week war against a middle power. Like so. I don't know where they expect all of these like missiles and defense systems to come from. Our production capability in America is trash. We're not able to produce anything. So like there's that one, that's just a physical reality that they have to contend with. But also like they should be more concerned about America not even being capable of protecting them. Like look at how America fared against Iran. China is 1,000 times stronger, 1,000 times more productive. And when it comes to war, the only thing that matters is how much you are able to produce. What are your productive capabilities? And China has that like by the thousands, like I don't, or like way more than we do. So like I think that's the more concerning part. They shouldn't. I don't know. I'm surprised that they haven't even been really discussing this since the Iran war started. Maybe there's back channel discussions and they're just not willing to openly say it. But yeah, I'm not sure.
The big concern that Taiwanese officials expressed in the days and weeks leading up to this meeting. We heard from the Taiwan foreign minister, who said that he hoped the summit would bring no surprises. The deputy foreign minister said he was afraid that Taiwan could be on the menu. So even though they knew here in Taipei that Xi was going to press this claim that Beijing has had for 75 years that Taiwan belongs to China, even though Taiwan has had its own government and its own military the entire time, and also, by the way, happens to have the production of all of
By the way, I don't think China would even care if Taiwan was independent if America didn't use it as a proxy against them, for force projection and as a military base to be able to launch attacks against China. If America just left Taiwan the fuck alone, then I think China would be relatively okay with China being independent in the same way that they're like relatively okay with Japan and South Korea being independent. Like, even though those countries also have American military bases and stuff on them, China isn't expecting a military, like an American style proxy war from those countries. They're expecting it from Taiwan because that's what Taiwan was set up to be. So yeah, if America just like abandoned that like goal of destabilizing China through Taiwan, then there would be a lot better chance for them to attain like full independence. But I don't think that that's going to happen.
the world's, nearly all of the world's most advanced chips that are crucial to the United States' deep investment in AI. Without Taiwan, the entire tech economy would essentially collapse if the supply chain were disrupted. So Taiwan knows that they have that leverage. They're hoping that President Trump keeps that in mind when he's in talks with Xi Jinping and doesn't send the message that Taiwan's security is up for negotiation.
While President Trump praised President Xi, the Chinese president warned President Trump today that the U.S. and China could clash over.
The best thing that could happen due to America's military misadventures in Iran is that America is so defeated and so its force projection is weakened so incredibly that there is not a even hint of understanding that America would have any capability of defeating China whatsoever, which, I mean, it's obvious to me as someone who, analyzes this stuff from a anti-imperialist perspective. And I can see, I can look at how much we failed in Iran and understand how much more difficult it would be to go against China, to just know that it is impossible at this point. America can't do anything about China at all. There's nothing that America can do. It's already done. America is a dying hegemon and China is an ascending hegemon. And so it's like, so I understand that there's nothing that can be done, but a lot of these people in the media, they still kind of like to pretend like America would even have a chance against China, which is really silly at this point. I feel like we should be way past this, but I don't know. They like to take their time. They really like taking their time with catching up, to my opinions.
Over Taiwan if the issue wasn't handled properly. Are both leaders further apart on the issues that Trump would like to acknowledge?
Certainly on that one, Wolf, there's no question, at least historically on the U.S. posture, we have not heard President Trump say much about what he thinks of what could happen with China and Taiwan and the U.S.'s role going forward. And so it's interesting that President Xi, made this quite clear at the outset. The prospect of a clash of China taking over Taiwan or attempting to take over Taiwan, and then what does the U.S. do? And it has all kinds of implications in terms of semiconductors, in terms of chips manufacturing and so forth, that we don't quite know what this looks like in a Trump 2.0. I will be interested to see if President Trump discusses much of what he actually thinks on that front publicly. As much as President Trump often seems unable to help himself from blurting certain things out, there are areas where he tends to keep his own views a little more closely held, and I suspect this is going to be one of them, but we'll see.
With us now is Congressman Mark Alford, a Republican from Missouri. Congressman, always great to see you. Let me read you part of that statement from China again.
Hey, I'm from Missouri.
Quote, if it is not handled properly, and he's talking about the Taiwan issue here, if it is not handled properly, the two countries may clash or even come into conflict, pushing the entire China-U.S. relationship into a very dangerous situation. So some see that as a warning or a threat from President.
The other thing, besides just the fact that America would be America would be incapable of defeating China just militarily, is that China is the manufacturing hub of the entire world. Like, if you thought that stuff is grinding to a halt from the Strait of Hormuz, which is 20% of the world's energy being removed from circulation, which we're only just now starting to see some of those consequences, but in the future, if this goes on, it'll be $8-9 a gallon oil or gas. It'll be food prices up 50-60% after a year or whatever. You're going to see the ramifications from the Strait of Hormuz situation in the future. Even Americans will, a lot of other countries already are. But if you thought that was something, wait until you remove 100% of the world's production capabilities. China produces everything for the world, every single thing that you need, every single little part that goes into building everything that you want, all of your technology, all of your computer parts, all of your this webcam that I have here, these two monitors I got here, that TV back there, that little display case. I'm sure like a lot of those pieces of glass and stuff were manufactured over there. Like China produces everything. Imagine going to war with China and they just shut off production for the world. It would be a catastrophe. It would be a global collapse, the likes of which the world has probably never seen. So like, I don't know who we're kidding here. Like it's a done deal. It's over. America is gone. Like bye-bye America. Enjoy your century of humiliation. It's time for Xi Jinping here to country mog everybody with ascending China's global century of prosperity or whatever. Like that's just how it is. But I'll keep watching. I'm sure that my Missouri congressman is going to have really smart things to say. We'll see.
You care deeply about Taiwan. You have been there, traveling there in the last couple of years. What do you think the clear U.S. statement
he cares about America and empire. He doesn't care about Taiwan.
On Taiwan should be?
Well, John, thanks for having me on. Look, we have had since 1979 the Taiwan Relations Act from Congress, a policy of strategic ambiguity. We're not saying they're an independent nation, but we're not saying they're part of China.
I mean, but according to American policy, it is a part of China. Like, I know that we have this strategic ambiguity thing or whatever, but I think according to American law and according to international law, it is a part of China. So like, whatever. Sure, dude. Sure.
Either. We don't have an embassy there. We have an American Institute of Taiwan. I've been there. It's a very beautiful facility. But Taiwan is important to us. It's important for their chip manufacturing, for drone capabilities. Our partnership with Taiwan is important, but also our partnership, burgeoning partnership, it looks like, between Trump and Xi and this new era that Xi has described is also important. We've got to make sure that trade.
That's new right there. Describing our relationship with China as a partnership is new from these types of ghouls. They usually do not say those words. They usually posture as if China is an enemy, like the biggest, bad, worst enemy of the world, right? So this shift right here is like a new thing. And I think to some extent it is, well, because Trump, number one, is like, trying to portray this as a partnership, like in his meetings, I guess. So like, that's a signal to the Republican Party of like what their messaging should be, as this guy is a Republican or whatever. But also I think it's a signal that even these people somewhat know that it's Jover. Like there's no way to defeat China. And we're never going to find a way to defeat China. The only possible way would be if we actually turned our country into a state capitalist country instead of a pure, market capitalist country. So the same sort of model that China has. And we're never going to do that because then our pedo billionaires couldn't take billions upon billions of dollars. All of their profits, would be substantially lessened if we ended up doing that.
Continues. We've got to make sure that we are able to export our Missouri soybeans and pork to China. And Taiwan also, of course, is buying some of those as well. It is a delicate tap dance at this point. But look, in the appropriations process, excuse me, in the appropriations process, just 2 weeks ago, under the full committee for appropriations, we appropriated $500 million for Taiwan and foreign military financing. That is up from $300 million just 1 year ago. So I think, are sending a signal to Taiwan that we value them, but we also value President Trump's initiative to better relations with China.
Would you want those better relations to come at the expense of any reduced arms sales to Taiwan?
No. Taiwan needs to be ready for what could happen. And under our strategic ambiguity, the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act, we have committed to not necessarily aid in their self-defense, but give them what they need to defend against any.
What's the difference, dude? This is all rhetorical trickery. I mean, I think I'm done with this segment. I've talked a lot about it. Like I said, Taiwan, I know that it might not be the most popular opinion in your country, but trust me, like if you want to see what it looks like, look to Ukraine of being a proxy of America. It's not pretty. They've gone through, they've essentially lost entire generations of men in their war against Russia, in our war against Russia through Ukraine. So, and China is, much, much stronger than Russia is. So, and you don't have a shot. Like Taiwan, I'm just going to be frank with you, Taiwan, you don't have a shot there, even with full and total American support. You do not have a shot. So I don't know. I would start even if you don't want to think about it, I would start thinking about it. What you would want in terms of a peaceful reunification with China, and a peaceful reunification would always be much better. Even from the Chinese people, the leadership has said this, they want a peaceful reunification. And so I think that would be a lot better for you, and a lot better for the world, and a lot better for China, and a lot better for us as Americans, in terms of our, tax dollars and funding foreign proxy wars or whatever. If that was the direction you at least consider.